Welcome to Oysters with a Pearl, the podcast series presenting the key outcomes of the eMSP NBSR project. My name's Kira G. I'm an MSP expert working at the Federal Maritime and Hydrographic Agency in Germany, and I'm delighted to be your host for this series. The EU-funded eMSP NBSR project brought together MSP planners, experts and stakeholders from the North Sea and Baltic Sea regions to collaboratively advance MSP practice. Urgent emerging topics were considered in communities of practice, and a series of practical recommendations were developed. Today, we are talking about data and knowledge, and specifically how to improve data and knowledge sharing for informed decision-making in MSP. I'm joined by Berenice Lequesne from the French National Hydrographic and Oceanographic Office.
Hi, Kira.
Nice to talk to you. So, Berenice, you were one of the leads of the so-called data and knowledge learning strand in the eMSP project. And I want to start by asking you, why is data and knowledge sharing and effective data use still so important in MSP? Haven't we actually solved this problem yet?
Hi, Kira. First of all, thank you for the invitation in this podcast. So yeah, you're right. Data and knowledge are central in effective MSP and for informed decision making for all steps in MSP plan process. So for defining existing and future conditions, risk analysis, plan evaluation and monitoring. And the problem is that we have a big volume and diversity of spatial data, which makes sharing and using for operational aspects a complex task. We have to deal with data availability, but not only availability, but also accessibility, understandability, reusability, and findability, which is difficult because data is a continuously evolving field with new challenges such as climate change. You also have cumulative impacts, standards, norm, etc. So we don't have solved the problem, but at least the problem is identified. So now we can have a plan to solve it.
That sounds really fascinating. So it's actually a question of having too much data even sometimes, or data that isn't accessible, or the wrong type of data for MSP purposes. Based on the discussions that you've had in your learning strand in the eMSP project, can you maybe summarize some of the most urgent data challenges and limitations MSP is facing right now?
Yeah, so we have a lot of challenges actually. And one of them is the lack of standardized data formats and interoperability. That's something we talk a lot in our policy brief. And we know that each country has different needs in terms of the scale and scope of their MSPs, also in terms of institutional arrangements and governance frameworks that creates issues in terms of data interoperability, of course, due to different data protocols and formats, language disparities as well. So what we recommend to deal with this challenge in our policy brief is to adopt international data standards, such as ISO, Inspire, EHO standards, and also technical expert group recommendations. And also to ensure that MSP output is as FAIR compliant as possible.
So the FAIR principle, and say again what it means.
So FAIR principle is the fact that all data used have to be findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. So we encourage to use this principle to make data understandable and coherent between actors. And the second challenge is to ensure data quality and reliability. So the data and information used in each country comes from, we know, like different actors and sources. Sometimes data should be as uniform as possible to obtain coherence in MSP. So it's very important to have proper metadata documentation with the datasets properly and transparently described. The third challenge is about data confidentiality. And finally, the last challenge would be still key missing layers of dataset. We noticed that within all discussions we had in the data learning strand, maritime surveillance and safety of navigation is not well taken into account. Maritime surveillance is, we know, crucial for MSP because it shapes the foundation of policies and regulations that enhance navigation safety and maritime security. So that the main challenges we notice in the learning strain.
Yes, lots of challenges actually. And then of course, uses activities are evolving all the time, but so is MSP. So the demands and the demand side really coming from MSP is changing all the time as well. So it sounds to me like a very resource intensive issue really. So in terms of the data and knowledge that is needed for MSP, lots of actors, lots of different stakeholders are involved. And it was fascinating to hear you mention surveillance as something that is quite new. Coming back to the project, to the learning strand, can you tell us what are the best practices for data sharing? And what might be the key steps, would you say, for effective data use within MSP?
Actually, we have provided a kind of illustration designed by SHOM. So the illustration begins with the identification and collection of the right input data, followed by the harmonization and the visualization of output data on maps. Then in the illustration, we illustrate the process which progressed to the planning phase, resulting in the creation of coherent MSP plans designed for interoperability, of course. And then it's outlined the importance of reusing best practices in collaboration with relevant stakeholders, culminating in the sharing of data. And all the entire process aligns with the FAIR principle, ensuring that the data is findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable, and that contribute to enhance integration and support data-driven decision-making. So,
You also mentioned that collaborating with stakeholders and actors is really important before, of course, you can share data. What sort of collaboration would that be? Would that mean you just approach them, you explain to them what you need their data for, or how would I picture this step?
The collaboration of relevant stakeholders looks like what we have done in the eMSP project. Actually, that we did a lot of workshop meeting where everyone can share knowledge and share their experience, and it's a collaborative work where we can all give our ideas on a common platform, for example, and seeing each other. I think collaboration, it's all about communication.
Very good point, actually. I completely agree. So it's partly about understanding what data we all hold on the one hand, is it? And when I say data, I probably also mean knowledge in a wider sense. And then thinking, how can we actually share this effectively through what platforms, through which mechanisms? Is that right? So the two things need to come together.
Yeah. So we can use, for example, EMODNet, which is a common European platform, and that kind of spatial data infrastructure, such as common platform or integrate tools, could be a great way to share and to collaborate with the stakeholders.
It sounds like it was a really inspiring project, actually, and a very useful one, exactly for the purpose of bringing together these actors and data holders. So let me ask you what you found most inspiring at the end of the day about work in that learning strand. And is there anything that gives you confidence that the data and knowledge sharing in MSP will become improved or will take those important next steps?
So what did I found most inspiring about the project was actually the collaborative work with the committee of practice approach. This is kind of a new way to all work together. So I found it very inspiring, and I think I will use this approach in other domains and other jobs for collaboration, etc. So that's the point. And I'm confident about the fact that data knowledge sharing will take those important next steps, because thanks to ongoing dialogue, capacity building, and also investment in marine spatial data infrastructure. So all these things, it's ongoing process, and during the eMSP project, we see that everyone is very happy with this, and everyone wants to share with each other. So yeah, I'm confident thanks to ongoing dialogue between all stakeholders.
Well, that sounds fantastic. I'm really pleased to hear that there is willingness to share. There's recognition of the importance, and that people are opening up and are contributing their data and their knowledge to MSP. That's really, really encouraging. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of our data and knowledge sharing podcast. Thank you very much, Berenice, for taking the time. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you very much, Kira. It was very, very nice to be with you.
Oh, thank you. And thanks to all the listeners for joining us today. And if you'd like to find out more, please check out the eMSP website, which is www.emsproject.eu, all in one word. There you'll find all the various policy briefs and reports, including the one on data and knowledge sharing. And tune in for the other episodes of Oysters with a Pearl, which are also available on the website.